Hi, welcome to Sports Talk. It's been a long time. My buddy here, Dan Ulo, I'm the host, Bill Foley. Going to be talking about a lot of subjects, a couple of controversial subjects, college football bowls, and of course the NFL. Dan, I want to start off, before we get into football, I want to talk about the Dan Issel situation that happened in Denver about 10 days ago. Issel's walking off the court, and the Nuggets had just lost their 7th straight game. There was a rowdy fan yelling, "You suck," to him as he's coming off the court. And, after you lose 7 straight games, your patience is wearing on you. Dan Issel's response to the guy was, hey, go buy another beer. Go buy another beer, have another drink, you blank Mexican. Piece of whatever he used, was never said. What do you think about that situation?
It's unfortunate nowadays in major sports arenas that you have a certain element that pay, what was it, $2.50 a beer? I forget, I haven't had one in a long time. That they pay a couple dollars for a beer and they think they have the right to just abuse not only the ball players but the coaches, the referees, and we'll get to something else a little later on with the Cleveland Brown Jaguar situation. But I think you got to put a little human nature in there. I think Dan Issel, who's been around this game for many years, a couple of decades.
25 years with the Nuggets.
25 years with the Nuggets. I think sometimes that you get pushed to the wall and you say things that you might have regretted. But I think in this instance that it was taken a little out of context, and I think the punishment doesn't fit the crime, Bill.
Well, Issel was suspended 4 games, fined $112,000 for basically retaliating after what somebody had said to him. And I looked at it like this: 20 years ago, you can call anybody you want a name. You're not going to lose your job. You're not going to lose $112,000. And basically, I think the fan had it coming. These fans are getting way out of hand in all sports. And in this politically correct time that we're living in, to be fined $112,000 just for being able to speak your mind, especially in retaliation from somebody starting the war of words, I think was a joke. If you remember a few years back when we had the John Calipari and the Cheney situation with Temple in Massachusetts, Cheney basically threatened to kill Calipari and nothing ever happened to him. But now, because you have a coach, Dan Issel, who's white, okay, right, not to make this a race issue because it's not, it's a fact, made a statement to a Mexican fan. He didn't call him a slang term. He called him a Mexican, like if he called me an Italian or you an Irishman.
Right.
I mean, there was nothing derogatory in his term that he used. I mean, he wasn't fined because of his language. He was fined because he called him a Mexican. Okay, and I think this is getting way out of hand where you can't say, somebody's nationality and you're fined $112,000. To me, it's a total joke. The NBA overreacted. Denver totally overreacted. They should have stood behind Issel. For 25 years, he never had a problem in the organization. And like I said, in this politically correct time that we're living in, the crime does not fit the punishment, just like you said.
Right.
Let's go on to another fan situation here. The Jaguars and the Browns on last Sunday. The situation was a 4th down and 2 with a little over a minute remaining. Tim Couch fades back and hits Quincy Morgan for an apparent 1st down. They rush to the line of scrimmage. They spike the ball. Now, the rule states, okay, that once you run a play, that you cannot review a situation, okay?
Right.
Now, what you got to take into consideration here, and what the people don't understand or realize, is these fans in the stands, the male population mostly, the adult population sitting near the football field, how many of them people do you think bet the Browns? Now, remember, the line on that game was between a pick'em and 1 point. Not just because it's their favorite team, right, but because you're talking about a lot of money changing hands, whether legally or illegally here. Now, if that 1st down continues, they score a touchdown, the Browns end up covering. How many people had their rent money on that game?
Well, I'm sure there was a lot of fans that had money on the ball game. Again, the slant that I'm going to take on this is you kind of wonder the mentality of the age group, we'll say from about 25 to 50. These stadiums across the country, maybe, I remember a few years back they wanted to cut down on the sales of beer. I'm not trying to be a Bible thumper here with the sales of beer in the stadiums, but there comes a point, even in baseball, if you remember a few years back, they were going to cut it off in Cleveland after the 7th inning. I lived in a major city. I lived in New York, and the fans can get pretty rowdy there too. For years I had season tickets to the Jets for years. But there's an element, and you want to say to yourself, if their children, the bottle throwing people, if some of their kids would ask their father, "Dad, why?
Yeah.
Why did you do that?" I would like to hear some of the answers on some of these fans.
Well, you got to fear for the safety of the people in front of these people.
Right.
Okay, I mean, if a beer bottle hits a little kid or anybody sitting, an innocent person sitting in the stands, you got to fear for their safety. So what they need to do is beforehand, they need the security measures taken, not after the fact. I mean, this is a football game. They party before the game, 3 hours tailgating before the game. I don't think the beer sales is the problem. I think you got a tailgating situation before the game. Obviously, if you've ever been to a football game,
Right.
these people have been drinking all game. But the bottom line to this, you got arrests, okay? You got people season tickets probably going to be taken from them. But the NFL has to get this this instant replay settled. I mean, the plays run, okay?
Right.
The referee says his buzzer's not working. Who's to say these refs aren't on the take? Who's to say they don't have a little investment going on here? Okay, you never know. You can't trust. I mean, you can't trust everybody. I mean, once that play's run, it should have been settled, first down and goal at the 8-yard line with 48 seconds to go.
I agree with you.
It was a totally blown situation by the referee, but I agree with you. The fans definitely are out of hand. So you have two wrongs, and there's no right that comes out of that.
I guess my one question is, how did all the fans, the Cleveland fans that were involved with this, go home,
Yeah.
sober up, towel down, change their socks, and wound up at the Monday Night Football game? That's what I want to know.
They got cheap flights. Okay, I want to talk about one more situation before we get into the bowl games, the Notre Dame coaching situation. I've been a Notre Dame fan for a long time. We're talking about George O'Leary here. He lied on his application. Actually, his resume. He didn't have an application. It's a resume that went very far back in his career from his days at Syracuse. He said he earned a master's degree, and he was also a 3-year letterman for the University of New Hampshire. Now, how much of that should go in to what a coach has done 20 years later?
Okay, the way I defend this is to say, how many of us have lied on a resume
Right.
to try to get a position, lied on our taxes, right? We can go on and on.
That's you, Dan.
That's me, right? That's right. I'm getting carried away. But I think there is a splitting of hairs sometimes. I'm not saying that Notre Dame is above reproach, but I think sometimes, in this case at least, I think the man should have got the benefit of the doubt. That's just my opinion.
Well, no, it's a definite hypocritical situation in college sports anyway. Bob Davies, the coach of Notre Dame, who the year before took them to the big bowl game against Oregon State, I believe the Fiesta Bowl. They got slaughtered, I think, 49-6, the worst loss in Notre Dame history in a bowl game. Signed him to a 5-year extension after that. Kevin White did, the AD at Notre Dame. And 3 weeks into this season, Notre Dame starts out the season 0-3. Kevin White's made a lot of bad decisions in his tenure as the Notre Dame athletic director. And like I said, I've been a Notre Dame fan for a long time. I've always been a Bob Davies supporter. And what I'm telling you here is this guy had a 100% graduation rate at the University of Notre Dame. How much does that weigh on somebody keeping their job? Granted, this year he was 5-6. They didn't go to a bowl game. They got the big TV contract with NBC. Okay, right. But he did graduate 100% of his students.
You gotta love it. You gotta love that graduation rate in this day and age.
Well, now another take on the Notre Dame situation. Obviously, O'Leary's out. Okay.
Right.
I read in the paper today, which kind of irked me. Jesse Jackson, okay, is starting to pressure Notre Dame to hire a black coach. Okay, Tyrone Willingham from Stanford. He's done a great job with Stanford. Don't get me wrong. Who's Jesse Jackson to pressure anybody into hiring anybody? This guy's got who knows how many kids floating around that he don't even know about after last year's problem. I mean, you thought he'd lay low for at least a year. Now he's floating in the Notre Dame situation.
Yeah. Well, Jesse's got to step back a couple of steps here, and maybe he's reading too many of his headlines, and this happens. People get carried away, they get involved in other parts of the world and other parts of the country that are not really their domain, and this is a prime example of that.
Well, it's a situation where, you got to hire a black coach. You got to hire, a Spanish this. You got to hire a white guy for this. I mean, just hire the guy that's most credible for the job. I mean, it's getting totally out of hand.
White, black,
does it matter?
Doesn't matter. Purple doesn't matter.
Like we said earlier, when Larry Bird plays for the Globetrotters, we'll get Ty Willingham for Notre Dame. What do you think?
Very good.
Okay, let's go to some college bowl games. We're joined here by Doug Rendell.
Last time I checked.
Okay. He is the sports anchor here at Channel 41. Glad to have you, Doug. We talked a couple weeks ago on your show on Tuesday night about the College Bowl situation, the BCS, I called your show.
Right.
We talked, and what's your take on what's developed so far in the BCS?
Well, so far the BCS, it's been around, what, 4 years? 2 of those 4 years, there's been a lot of controversy as to who should really be going to the big bowl game. I think it's a flawed system. There has to be a better way.
Definitely.
And when you have a team coming on strong at the end of the year, like a Colorado, they beat number 2 Nebraska, they beat number 3 Texas, but yet they're kept out of the big game. And strength of schedule should figure into the equation, but strength of schedule at what time of the year?
Yeah.
And you're beating the teams at the time of the year when everybody's been on the field, played their games, gotten good, and you beat somebody tough at the end of the year, it should be weighted a little bit heavier for that. And I think they should be there.
Okay, well, we'll be just definitely discussing that later on. When Nebraska did lose, they were number 2 in the country. They were definitely headed for the championship game against Miami of Florida. When they lost, I believe they dropped to number 6, and then you had Tennessee above them. You had Florida above them. You had, I think they leapfrogged Oregon somehow because UCLA and Washington had lost games. So, I mean, this system is totally ridiculous. And then you just mentioned the teams that are playing the best at the end of the year. Well, the thing with college football is the end of the year is going to be 5 weeks from when they actually play the game.
That's right.
So unless you get a playoff situation in college football to where you're going to have either 8 teams or 16 teams, which will only be a 4-week playoff, these teams are losing all their momentum anyway into the bowl games. I mean, their last game is going to be on November 24th, and their bowl game is going to be January 1st. This isn't like basketball where you can have practices that are intense enough to almost be like a real game. I mean, football, you can't do that. You're going to have injuries, and the defenses aren't allowed to hit the quarterbacks in practice as hard as, of course, they're going to be during the regular game. So, I mean, the momentum you talk about is true, but unless they get a playoff system, I think that there really is no momentum after 5 weeks. What do you think, Dan?
I think that what's going to happen is, being that the great country that we're in right now, and this is a prime example of, you're going to find a lot of sympathy and a lot of rooters for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Maybe in an ideal situation, in a perfect setting, the Nebraska team captain would have brought everybody into the locker room and said, listen, fellas, I'll tell you what, let's take a vote. Do we deserve to go to this bowl game? And they would have had a lot of no's. But in this case, I'm saying to you, in the heart of hearts, maybe they don't believe that they belong in this game, but guess what? They're there, and I got news for you. It's going to be a dandy game.
It's going to be a great game.
Yeah.
The only thing with Colorado, they did have 2 losses early in the season. They are the team with the most momentum right now. Unfortunately, their 2 losses early in the season, they couldn't overcome that. I mean, the way they destroyed Texas in the Big 12 championship game, obviously, I mean, that has to weigh heavily. I mean, they destroyed Texas at home against Nebraska. They beat Nebraska 62 to what?
36.
Right.
And I mean, they manhandled them. And like Doug said, it has to weigh something. But we have to have a playoff system. And if we did, we'd have Colorado, we'd have Oregon, we'd have Florida. The big names would be there. And let me tell you something. You talk about a Super Bowl. You know the way the Final Four is, guys. Money making.
Yep.
How about a college bowl game for the championship? Okay, let's start talking about some of the bowl games. This is a live call-in show here. What's the phone number?
I got it. Right here.
All right.
571-5786.
751-5786. 751-5786. Anybody has any comments about what we've talked about earlier, or the Bowl Championship Series situation, or any of the games we're going to be talking about? The first game is the Las Vegas Bowl. Utah and USC. Southern Cal comes in with 4 wins in a row. They're 6-5 on the season. But what I like about Southern Cal is out of their 5 losses, they've lost by a total of 25 points in all 5 of those games, which tells me they were in all their games. And they are definitely in what I thought was an underrated conference this year. I told you Washington and UCLA lost a couple games, which knocked Oregon out. But if you look at that conference, Oregon State had a down year. But you can always count on UCLA and USC to be competitive. Washington's always a good team. Utah and Southern Cal, you're going to have a big crowd from Southern Cal coming. The Utah always has a big following, but they're not going to sell many tickets to people from Las Vegas for this game.
I agree. It's kind of an afterthought of a bowl game. It's 2 good teams, but the drawing power here in Las Vegas, I have to agree, it's not going to be that strong.
Well, they don't even sell out the Rebel games in Las Vegas. So
What I'd like to know is whatever happened to the great USC program. I mean, bring back O.J. Simpson. This is a storied franchise. Not to make slight of the USC program or O.J. Simpson, but I mean, their head coach had some pro experience.
Yeah.
He may be questioning himself what he's doing there now. I don't know.
Well, Southern Cal 3.5 and 46.5 game, or 46.5 in that game. Any of you two have an opinion on that at all?
No, not really. The over and under is anybody's guess in any game, but
Yeah.
that sounds about right for these two teams.
Okay, the next game we want to talk about is the Jeep Seattle Bowl. Every year there's a new bowl game here. Georgia Tech and Stanford. Stanford opened a 3-point favorite, got bet down to 2.5, but yesterday the running back for Georgia Tech, Joe Burns, was suspended. Automatically the game goes up to 4. I don't know if that was an overblown move, but Stanford had a big win this year. The only loss on Oregon's record, 49-42 against the Ducks. They're a nice high-scoring team under Ty Willingham. Like I said, he's done a great job with Stanford. And Georgia Tech coming in, losing O'Leary as their coach and Godsey as their quarterback in his last game as a senior. Any take on that game, Dan?
I see a lot of scoring, like you say. The under and over could be even low almost into this game. Stanford, for years, has been a passing team, and like you say, that conference I think was underrated. They had a lot of good teams. I
Yeah.
mean, really competitive conference this year, and I wouldn't be surprised Stanford wins this game.
Everybody's beating everybody in that conference. Next game is the mainstay Independence Bowl, Iowa State and Alabama. Alabama minus 6.5 with a total of 51.5. Alabama comes into the game winning 3 in a row. Iowa State has played a real tough schedule, rated one of the top 5 schedules in the country. In the Big 12, you got Nebraska and Kansas State and Oklahoma. In their conference, they were competitive. They lost to Nebraska by 14 early in the season, and they finished the season 7-4. Iowa State, a perennial passing team this year. What do you see about this game, Doug? Anything catch your fancy?
No, not really. Alabama, a great program year after year after year, going back to Bear Bryant and beyond. They play good, solid football, both sides of the ball. You don't see a lot of penalties from the Alabama team, not a lot of turnovers. I look for Alabama to take this one.
I agree with you. I like Alabama in the game. They overcame the probationary problems that they had with DeBose as their coach, and have really turned their program around, I think, in about less than 2 years.
Alabama across the board here.
Don't bet that at the house. Friday, December 28th, TCU and Texas A&M. TCU had a big win at the end of the year against Southern Miss, which was another reason that we had a problem with the bowl games. Them beating Southern Miss made made Nebraska leapfrog somebody else. I mean, the bowl championships, it was weird to say it's a joke, but anyway, TCU comes in a 7-point dog against Texas A&M. Texas A&M 7-4 has lost 3 in a row going into the bowl game, and R.C. Slocum always has a bad time in the bowl games.
I tell you, I got nothing to recommend this game. If you got anything else to do, I would do it.
I say take the points.
Yeah, and TCU's got a nice balanced offense. Printer's the quarterback. He runs, he throws, and in that game against Southern Miss, they looked like they were playing for the national championship instead of Southern Miss. The next game, Boston College and Georgia. Boston College coming in at 7-4, Georgia 8-3. Of course, Georgia's biggest win of the year was in Tennessee against the Volunteers, 26-24. Last-second drive led by their sophomore quarterback. Georgia's always tough in bowl games. They come in a 4.5-point favorite against Boston College. And Boston College, of course, known for that tough game they played against Miami of Florida earlier in the year where they were down by 2 points and threw the interception at the end of the game. This total is 52. I like this game over. I think it's one of my better plays for a total.
I like Georgia. Anytime you go to Tennessee and beat Tennessee, as a friend of mine used to say, toughest place in the world for anybody to play, 100,000 screaming hillbillies.
Noisy.
Very tough at Neyland Stadium.
Next game, Washington at Texas. Now, this is a Pac-10 team. Washington had a down year going to Texas. Texas is minus 12. Big change here for Texas. This should have been done in the Big 12 championship game. Major Applewhite should have been starting over Phil Simms' son. There's no doubt about that. Applewhite starting this game. Texas minus 12 with a total of 58. Washington, their season was over early. They started out, I think, 1-2 on the season, finished 8-3. Still respectable in a very tough conference. But Texas has the ability to score and score fast, and I don't know why Major Applewhite wasn't the quarterback earlier in the year.
Well, there was a lot of controversy there, but I want to say something. Don't count the Huskies out in this ball game. I find that a lot of these teams that had so-so records, they kind of rise to the occasion in some of these not so prestigious bowls. And I think this is going to be one of them. And Texas could be in for a long afternoon.
I see it the other way. I see Texas bouncing back from the Big 12 title game loss to Colorado, regrouping, showing the country and everyone else why they were number 3 at one time.
Yeah, I
A
agree.
lot of pride there for
I
Texas.
agree with Doug. I think Applewhite lights up the scoreboard. I think Texas puts a 40 or 45 on Washington. Washington's defense this year is slightly down from last year, and they got a, they're talking about maybe the coach going to a different university. They even mentioned Notre Dame. I don't think that's going to happen, but Washington, I think, has their mind on something else. And like Doug said, Texas has something to prove after that game against Colorado. The next game, the Toledo Rockets in Cincinnati. Toledo -4 with a total of 58. If you remember the game, I think it was the MAC championship game, Toledo was down 21-0 to Marshall, somehow came back and beat that team. Came back and beat Marshall late in the game. And Cincinnati, I looked at their schedule earlier today because, like I said, it's been 5 weeks since they played. You got to remind yourself what's happened. Their schedule is very weak. They come in at 7-4. And I know Toledo can put points on the board. I don't know about Cincinnati.
Toledo, they're in the MAC, right?
That's
Mid-American
correct. Yep.
Conference, tough conference. Marshall
Right.
of 64-point fame the other night.
right.
A lot of tough teams in that conference. I like Toledo. And Cincinnati, best word I can think of is erratic.
You don't know
One
what
week,
they're gonna do.
yeah, 1 week, wow, they're great. The next week, they stink. You just can't rely on them to be consistent.
And that's pretty simple. They do stink most of the time. Next game, Syracuse and Kansas State. This is a battle of two different teams here. Syracuse has had a good start to the season, 9-3, but they get blown out by Miami, 59-0. And I think that's what really opened everybody's eyes. Syracuse, I think, was at 8-2 or 8-1. Before they played Miami. Miami beats them 59-0. Kansas State started out slow, but they did win 4 of their last 5 games to finish 6-5. But if memory serves me right, Kansas State can't win a bowl game.
Well, I'll tell you what, Kansas State for the last couple of years has had some very good competitive teams. I think it was just last year where they gave some of the top teams, even Oklahoma and Nebraska, all they wanted. I look for Kansas State over here if I was a betting man. I say Kansas State takes care of business that day.
I agree with you, Dan. I like Kansas State just on the strength of which conference they're playing out of.
And I like Kansas State also because of the momentum. Like I said, they won 4 of their last 5, all against quality competition. And the coach for Syracuse, you see him on the sideline. Sometimes you don't know where he's at. Next game, Monday, December 31st, Louisiana Tech and Clemson. Now, this is definitely 2 different conferences we're talking about here. Louisiana Tech has scored 35 or more points 7 times this year. The total is 64 in the game. Clemson -6.5 the favorite. Quarterback Woodrow Dantzler for Clemson and a weak defense spells over in this game for me.
Yeah. Over what, though?
64.
Over 64. Well, I tell you what, I'm going to pass on this game. Louisiana Tech, I don't know too much. What was their record for the year?
They're a passing team. They've scored 35 or more points 7 times. And Clemson's defense against the pass was 85th in the nation. So I'm going to take my chances with
Give me
the over
one
60.
team that Tech beat.
Louisiana Tech?
Yeah.
Louisiana Western.
That's the end of my story.
Okay. Thank
you.
I rest my case.
Well, if they were such a weak team, why isn't this line 7.5 instead of 6.5? Don't sit in a trap.
I don't know.
Okay, next game. The Wells Fargo Sun Bowl. Every game's got a different title this year. The Wells Fargo Sun Bowl. Purdue and Washington State. Purdue from the Big Ten and Washington State from the Pac-10. This should be another high-scoring affair. Washington State, of course, with quarterback Jason Gesser. They won at Stanford earlier in the year. Purdue's lost 4 of their last 5. This is a situation where you got a passing team against a passing team, Doug. And you know Washington State's going to come and try and score some points.
They'll light it up. I look for just a big aerial attack from both sides of the ball. Adequate defense, but I look. What was the over? The over/under in that was
50.5.
50.5. I'd take the over.
I've talked to everybody. They like that. I mean, I thought that total was going to be 59 or 60 when it came out. But 50.5, that sounds like, speaking of traps, that sounds like a trap, 50.5. But they're going to get my money on that game. The next game, the Silicon Valley Classic. It's in San Jose, California, so hopefully you're going to get some good weather. Fresno State -5.5 against Michigan State with a total of 64. Michigan State's lost 3 out of 4 games. Fresno State, of course, started fast. Then they had a couple of lulls in the middle. And I'll tell you what gets caught in the mix here. They lost to Hawaii right after their first loss. I think they lost to Boise State first and then Hawaii. Hawaii's got to get a little respect. I mean, they showed a hell of a lot the last game of the season, scoring 72 on BYU. I know BYU's defense isn't any good, but they had a lot of intensity, and that offense was moving. Fresno State, like I said, -5.5 in this game. Basically a home game in San Jose. It's, you know, California. Fresno always gets a following, whether it's college basketball or college football. But I tell you what, Michigan State quarterback, that Smoker, man, I tell you what, he impresses me, and I think I like Michigan State in that game.
This is a good showcase for the Fresno State quarterback, David Carr.
Yeah, Carr.
David Carr. He looks to me like he could be a #1 draft choice coming out of college, even for the expansion Houston franchise. So this game should be a real test for David, and I think he's going to show the NFL scouts that he has what it takes.
Well, no matter what happens this week, we're in the bowl game with Fresno State. They had a great season. I believe they beat Texas earlier in the year. I think it was one of their wins, 41-7.
They had a couple of big ones, yeah.
Well, like I said, you know, we talked about earlier, that's earlier in the season. After them 2 losses, though, they did rebound. They've won 5 in a row, and in those 5 games, they've outscored their opponents 261-93. So hopefully Fresno State comes to play. That ought to be a good game. The Liberty Bowl in Memphis, Tennessee, BYU and Louisville. Louisville -2.5 with a total of 69. That's the updated number. And this ought to be a real barn burner. You know, you see BYU's defense against Hawaii, giving up 72 points on the islands. Louisville known for their passing, and of course the running back Staley out for BYU. Doug, what do you see in this game?
What I see is the big telling fact about BYU this year was the last game they played. They went into that game with a lot of talk, wanting to prove to the country and everyone why we should be up there as far as who's going to get one of the major bowl bids. Then they go to Hawaii and they just fall apart. And it remains to be seen if that broke their spirit and put them in the dumper, or if they're going to come back again with something to prove.
Well, you got to look at it a couple of ways. First of all, like you said, they had nothing to play for as far as a national championship. It's got to take a little something out of you. First game
But
without
just for the sense of pride to say, look,
understand.
we're better than what you guys think
And I
we
agree
are.
with you. I thought they were coming to play. I had BYU in that game. But by the same token, BYU lost their running back. First game without Luke Staley, and they didn't have any running game in that game at all.
Best running back in the country this year, I believe.
Well, I tell you what, probably the most unknown running back, unless you're on the West Coast, and they did miss him.
They got to put more than 8 guys on the field on defense this game. BYU.
And not to take anything away from what they did this year, but wasn't their strength of schedule somewhere around 150th in the country?
Yeah, it was weak, but you know, like I said when they were 12-0, when you play 12 games and you win 12 games, you should be entitled to play for some type of championship until you lose a game, and that's where the bowl championships series is absolutely horrible. You got a team that's 12-0, not counting their last game. Just say they would have won that game and they're 13-0. Just to be a devil's advocate. How can you tell a team that's 13-0 that you can't play for a championship?
Yeah.
No matter who you are. In college basketball, if you're undefeated and you're in the worst conference in the country, you win the division and you win your tournament, you're going to the big dance no matter what happens.
Which is a playoff, again.
And that is correct.
And that just goes back to that whole thing. We need a playoff formula for determining the champ.
Okay, the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl here in Atlanta, Georgia, North Carolina and Auburn. This ought to be a barn burner. To me, in my opinion, North Carolina, Julius Peppers is going to be, if not the 1 pick in the draft, number 2 pick for North Carolina. He led the nation in sacks last year, and I believe he's number 1 or 2 this year. North Carolina 7-5. They started the season against Oklahoma, and I remember the game. They were losing, I believe, 35-0. Ended up coming back and covering in the game. I thought they lost something like 41-21 in that game. But they showed a lot of heart. They've had a lot of injuries. They're 7-5. Going against Auburn, and Auburn's one of them teams I can't figure out, up and down. I mean, this team I can't figure out at all.
I like anybody from the SEC. I love the brand of football. It's always wide open. It's always punishing, and I mean, that's not very logical, and it's not the handicapper's way to look at a game, but that's the edge I think they have.
Well, if you look at the SEC, a couple of the best games this year, Georgia, Tennessee, Florida.
Yeah.
Anytime that you have a team like Tennessee or a team like Florida, where they came up with that
Tennessee.
point, where they came up with those point spreads of 14.5 on them games, I thought they had to be out of their mind. Where do you get these teams play each other every year? They know their tendencies. They know what they like to do. I mean, these teams are quality teams. I mean, it's not a situation like the Big Ten used to be years ago when you had your Northwesterns and Minnesota that were getting 44 points every game when they played Michigan and Ohio State. This is a well-balanced conference. I agree with Doug. I think it's definitely the best conference in the country. Okay, let's go to the next bowl game here, the Cotton Bowl on January 1st, breaking the year 2002, Arkansas and Oklahoma. And for a lot of people out here who watched Arkansas the first game of the season against UNLV, they were very lucky to get away with that game. UNLV had a terrible season, but Arkansas had no offense at all. They had one first down into the fourth quarter. And the coach, Coach Nutt, finishes the season 7-4 with Arkansas. The offense has definitely picked it up. Oklahoma, on the other hand, former defending national champions, 10-2, a good season for them.
Right.
But they're still not going to play for the championship this year. And I think that's going to weigh in this game. I mean, I'm not an Arkansas fan, but I'm going to take the points in this game based on Oklahoma not having anything to play for.
Well, I got to disagree with you. I think Oklahoma's going to play for just who they are, Oklahoma. I take a look at this game, and to me, this game has got to be one of the biggest mismatches on the whole College Bowl schedule, on the menu.
Give the point.
What is Arkansas doing there? We're probably asking ourselves after, because UNLV fans seeing that game, you say to yourself, they beat UNLV the first, but who else did they beat to get here to the Cotton Bowl? I can remember years ago, you say the Cotton Bowl, this was a big game. I just don't see, God bless Arkansas, I just don't see them playing and staying with Oklahoma.
No, they beat Auburn. They lost to LSU by 3. They played a tough schedule. Anytime you play in that conference, it's tough. And I say this: if this line wasn't 14.5, if this line was 14.5, I would like the favorite in this game. This is a situation where the line's 14. If they go under 14 or over 14, it's telling you a little bit of who I think that the odds makers. I mean, they want you to bet Oklahoma, or that line would have been 14.5.
You could have a point
On
there.
paper, that line should be 17-20.
That's what I'm
Exactly,
thinking.
and that's
You
what
know,
I was just thinking.
But I'm telling you, there's certain games that these
Oklahoma
guys
by
set
20.
you up for, and I mean, I'm not, like I said, I don't even know who plays for Arkansas, but I can
Yeah.
tell you this: that line should have been 17 to 20 points.
You got a good point there.
But like both of you pointed out, that game is a lopsided game on paper. So we'll see what happens on the first. It's the earliest game of the day, so hopefully we'll all be recovered from New Year's Eve to watch that.
Here you go.
The next game, the Outback Bowl, Ohio State and South Carolina. South Carolina minus 2.5 with a total of 42.5. Lou Holtz, the rumors again for South Carolina going to Notre Dame. He's denying them. Ohio State just reinstated their captain, Steve Bellisari, the quarterback. He was pulled over for a DUI about 4 weeks ago after the season.
Best
Or
thing
right
that happened to
before.
Ohio State
They woke up after
is
that.
the fact that he got pulled. The guy is just not a quarterback from what I've seen.
They're going to use him to start, though, they said. He is the captain of the team. I don't know if they reinstated him for that fact or what they did, but the games he's played this year, he hasn't produced at all.
Might be a little bit payback factor in this game. It's an exact matchup of last year's, right? Ohio State, South Carolina. One other factor in that game, Ryan Brewer, South Carolina's starting running back, great football player, was passed over. He was Mr. Football in the state of Ohio his senior year. Ohio State didn't even give him a call. He goes to South Carolina. Lou Holtz gets a hold of him. Ryan Brewer beats Ohio State last year in the Liberty Bowl, pretty much single-handedly.
Wow.
Great story, great story. I've eaten at the Outback many times, and I like the Outback.
Yeah.
I don't care for this bowl, but I like the Outback restaurant.
Okay, phone number here, 751-5786. You can talk to Doug, myself, or Rodney Dangerfield here in the middle. The next game, the Toyota Gator Bowl. Every game here has a sponsor here. Virginia Tech and Florida State. Virginia Tech -2, total of 53.5. Virginia Tech's lost 3 of their last 5 games. Florida State definitely a down year for them at 7-4. This is a tough game for me to pick. First of all, I couldn't give you heads or tails on Virginia Tech all year. And Florida State's been so up and down, and this is a game I'm definitely going to pass on. Anybody have an opinion?
Same
on this?
thing. Florida State, Jekyll and Hyde to the extreme. They come in the big powerhouse favorite preseason, and they fall apart to North Carolina State. Who are some of the? I don't know. Wake Forest. They got
They
beat by
lost at
some
home.
no names.
They lost at home, I think 2 or 3 times, which is definitely never going to happen to Florida State for the next 10 years.
I guess my question is, what's Bobby Bowden's record in bowls?
Pretty good.
All right, that's what I would go with then.
Okay, the next game we're going to talk about Michigan and Tennessee, and I know before we even discuss this game that I'm going to be opposite of Doug on this game. Michigan, the dog here, Tennessee -4 with a record of 10-2. Lost to LSU, and I'm going to tell you that's why I like Michigan in this game. I think they had a chance to win the national championship when they lost that title game, or when they lost that game to LSU. I mean, I think it's going to take all the breath away from this team. Michigan's coming in on a roll. They're 8-3. The most points any team has scored against Michigan all year is 26 points. Their defense is solid, and the coach has done a great job with this program. I like Michigan. It's one of my best plays at the Bowls.
This looks like a very competitive game on paper, almost as good as the Oregon Bowl that we're going to get to in a minute, Colorado and Oregon, I believe. This game looks very competitive, and I think that, what'd you say the point spread was, Bill?
Tennessee's -4, total
Tennessee's
44.
-4.
I give the points. I like Tennessee.
I think it's going to be a very close game.
I
I'll
think
be honest.
anybody listening right now, can justify any selection. I mean, Tennessee definitely a great team, under a touchdown. Like I said, Michigan, they're coming in. They haven't given up more than 26 points all year in any game. And I think if Michigan scores a few touchdowns, they have a chance to win this game. And I mean, win it straight up. Next game, the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl, Oregon and Colorado. Colorado -3 with a total of 57. Colorado coming in 10-2. Very hot right now. Oregon 10-1. Both of these teams have a chip on their shoulder. Joey Harrington, the superstar quarterback, one of the best ones in the country for Oregon, 10-1. The coach wants to know why his team isn't playing in a national championship. He made the comparison to cancer, the BCS. I don't know if that's the right comparison, but nobody's happy with this system. Unless people start making outrageous comparisons like that, nobody's going to listen. Early in the year, Colorado lost to Texas 41-7. They haven't played in 5 weeks. I mean, there is a chance that
5 weeks.
Colorado might not be as sharp as they were. And who do you like in the game?
How's Colorado against the pass? That
Pretty
would be the main thing on my mind.
Well, in their
I
conference,
know they can shut down the run, but
well,
I was just-
in their conference, they really don't have a lot of passing teams.
Right.
You got your Nebraskas,
Right.
you got Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, all running teams. Kansas State, probably one of the better passing teams. Texas Tech. They really haven't played a passing team. I think Colorado's heard a lot in the news about they should be here, and I think Oregon believes that they should have been there. And I like Oregon in the game +3.
This is without a doubt the best betting game on the bowl menu. This is going to be a dandy, and I think you go either way, and you can make arguments for either side. This game, to me, just on paper, looks like the Super Bowl of the college bowl games.
I have to go with Oregon because just because of what you were just talking about there, Bill, that Colorado doesn't really see the style of play that Oregon's going to come at them with. Sure, they're athletic. Sure, they can beat good teams, but style of play that you see all year, and then you come up against somebody that runs something a lot different than what you've been seeing. I give the nod to Harrington and Oregon.
It's going to be a great game. The rest of these games we're talking about are all going to be great games. And before we finish with the bowls, we want to get the best selections from everybody here. I want everybody to hear who we like. That way we can go on record and have bragging rights between the three of us. The next game, Illinois and LSU. Illinois coming in 10-1. They've scored at least 20 points in 10 of their 11 games. LSU -3. The Giant Killers here beat Tennessee 31-20, but they do lose their star running back Tofield. He had knee surgery. He's out for the game. And Davies, the quarterback, got hurt in that game also. The backup came in and did a fine job, but he was an option quarterback, didn't have much experience passing. Davies supposed to be back for this game. Who do you like in this game, Doug?
I see LSU giving 3, but myself, I would have had this at a pick. Give me a coin to toss. I don't know. LSU just on the strength of the big-time emotional win over Tennessee, but Illinois played tough all year, beat tough teams. Like I said, flip a coin.
Yeah.
Tough to say.
Dan?
How tough was the Big Ten this year?
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Would you rate them over the SEC?
No.
No?
Only because Northwestern had a down year. Northwestern was very disappointing. Wisconsin wasn't as good as they were. But the good teams in the Big Ten, the Michigans and the Illinois,
Yeah.
I believe they're going to come to play. This is going to be a good game. I mean, I like the over myself if I had to play this game. They're playing in Louisiana, right where LSU and Tennessee played to see who was going to, advance. And LSU had a lot of fans there. It was very loud. It's one of the loudest stadiums in the country.
All right, they'll have an advantage.
But I tell you what, Illinois is consistent. At least 20 points in 10 of 11 games. I like the over in this game. I think that's a safe play.
Very good.
Next game, the Orange Bowl, FedEx Orange Bowl. This game is pretty shocking to me. The 16 points in this game. Florida -16 against Maryland. Maryland coach Ralph Friedgen just signed a 10-year contract extension yesterday, and their only loss, Maryland's only loss with it, was at Florida State this year, which isn't, you really shouldn't hold that against them. Not many teams win at Florida State, even though it was a down year for them. But what a turnaround for Maryland this year, 10-1 from the down years that they've been having. Florida always tough, 9-2. Spurrier's going to have them flying. They lost as a 16-point favorite to Tennessee earlier, so you got to remember that. I mean, just because they're 16 points don't mean that they're going to be, it's going to be a shoo-in for them. Earlier in the week, Rex Grossman said he's going to stay, sophomore quarterback for Florida. I like Maryland in this game, plus 16 points. I look at it this way. If Maryland scores 20 points, the other team's going to have to score, in the high 30s or 40 points to beat them. And the way Maryland's defense played late in the season, I like Maryland plus 16.
This one I go strictly on the strength of the coach. Steve Spurrier will have his team ready to go, not just ready to play, but ready to win, ready to win big. When I look at Steve Spurrier in bowl games, it's always huge. And I would actually, I would give the points in this one, even at 16. I mean, these are top-ranked teams. Big game, but giving up 16 points might sound crazy, but I take Florida, give the points, probably go with the under in that. 60's,
This is
60's pushing the outer edges there.
This is a great opportunity for a school like Maryland to get exposure like this. I don't know the figures. I think it's between 10 and 12 million the schools get for these big games like this.
Yeah, it's something
somewhere like that.
outrageous.
This is a great, great opportunity for the Terrapins, the Maryland program that we put on the map. And I look for, if not an out-and-out upset, I look for a competitive game. And I'll tell you what, I'll take those points all day long.
Well, I'm going to compare this to the Tennessee situation. Tennessee had a chance to win the national championship with a victory or advance to the national championship game with a victory. Florida had that same chance as a minus 16-point favorite. They didn't get the job done. I think Maryland has much more to play for. This is a dream season for them. Their coach just signed a 10-year deal. They know he's going to be back next year. I agree with Doug. Spurrier's going to have his team ready to play, but I don't know about covering 16 points. I definitely like the 16 in that game. The championship game, the Rose Bowl, Pasadena, the big daddy of them all, Nebraska and Miami of Florida. This is going to be an interesting discussion here. We got Nebraska minus 9, Miami of Florida minus 9, 9.5. It was up to 10, and it's back down to 9.5 right now. Nebraska 11-1, Miami 11-0, the only undefeated team in the country. Total of 54.5. We all know about Nebraska's 26-point loss to Colorado. You cross out that game in my mind, and Nebraska's won every game this year by at least 10 points. And Nebraska had five turnovers in that game, and I think Nebraska's corn-fed offensive line is going to dominate the Miami defensive line, and Eric Crouch is a danger on the run, and he's a danger in the air. And when you haven't played in 5 weeks and you have a quarterback like Eric Crouch that can control the game with his hands on the ball, they don't know if he's going to run or pass. The defense has to respect both angles. And you're getting 9.5 points with a team that was ranked number 2 in the country before their loss. Let me tell you, this line would have been 4.5 if Nebraska didn't lose to Colorado. That loss to Colorado ballooned this line up to 9.5 and 10 points. I say by game time, this line's 7.5.
My first question to both of you is, who has Miami played that's had a running game even close to Nebraska?
Well, not an option team. I mean, they played Boston College,
Right.
and that was when they suspended their top running back. They had
Right.
problems with them. Virginia Tech, they only beat by 2. They've had some close calls. That's why I don't see how they can give a team like Nebraska 9.5 or 10 points.
Right.
Championship game, 9-point spread. I just can't see it. I have to take the points.
Well, and Eric Crouch, I mean, this isn't anything
yeah.
new to him. I mean, he's not
Heisman winner.
Yeah,
How do you-
he's not a freshman here. And
Right.
I'm telling you, if you like Nebraska in this game, bet it now. If you like Miami or Florida in this game, wait till game day. Like I said,
Exactly.
I believe this game's going down to
How do you go
7.5.
9 points in a championship game?
You don't. And not a Nebraska game, anyway.
Right.
Phone number here, 751-5786. We're going to run through the pros here. We got about 10, 15 minutes left in the show. We're going to go to a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Yo, all you homeboys out in Bronx, this one's for you. Pump up the volume, pump up the volume, pump up the volume. Get down.
Winter is coming up on us quicker than you may think. Don't freeze your buns off trying to drive a car around that has no heater. Dawn's Radiator only sells and installs quality Modine heater cores. Reduce the risk of your radiator's cooling system letting you down this winter. Dawn's Radiator will give you a free inspection of your car's heating and cooling systems. All you have to do is take the time to go. They're right off Homestead, located on Gamebird. They can also help you with your gas tanks. Call and make an appointment now, 751-2000.
staff and crew of Avco Homes wishes each and every one of you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Eliana Corp and Desert Stone and Tile wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. They can build and design whatever your needs are with steel. Whether simple or complex, they can do it. Call them 751-8886.
Hi folks, this is Roy Mankins from Mankins Insurance in downtown Pahrump. We'd like to wish you and yours a safe and happy holiday season and a happy new millennium.
Happy holidays!
Pahrump Family Mortuary would like to wish you and yours a very safe and happy holiday season.
You're watching KPVM TV, Channel 41. You're watching.
Hey, welcome back to Sports Talk. Before we get into the pros, I want to ask Doug and Dan, and I'm going to give my opinion. What's your best selection for the bowl,
The
Doug?
last one we saw, I have to say that 9 points looks mighty tempting. Take Nebraska, take the points, and I think you'll be in a good way.
Dan?
I like Oregon, straight out.
I like Nebraska also, plus the 9.5. Like I got to listen to myself. I got to go down and bet it tonight because believe me when I tell you, I believe that game's going to 7.5. We got a caller? Yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
Hello, caller, you there?
Yes, I am. Yeah. Hey guys, how you doing? Love your show. I'm not in town right now, but I know the show's on. I just want to touch base with you and see, get some input on that Dan Issel thing. What do you think about that? I didn't hear your show. I don't know if you commented on it or not. I just.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier, Mike. I appreciate the call. Real fast, I think Dan Issel got the shaft. He was a coach there and a player there, 25 years with an impeccable record.
Exactly.
And I think that the team should have stood by him instead of suspending him for 4 games and 112,000, making him go into the media crying and begging for his job and pleading for his job and going through counseling. If you can't address somebody by their nationality without giving them, without it being a slang term, like me being an Italian, without, if you call me an Italian something instead of a Dago something, it's a big difference. Believe me when I tell you. And this country is so politically correct right now, it's sickening. You can't go anywhere without watching what you say or watching what you do. And I appreciate the call because that was one of the more irritating subjects that we dealt with earlier today.
Yeah, I just don't understand. It's pretty amazing. He can get there. He can get yelled at by the fan, some guy drinking or whatever, and gets hit at every day and night when he's out there coaching. And he makes a comment that I really don't think it. I mean, I guess it could be taken construed, but after all the time he's put in to that organization, he shouldn't lose his job over something like that. He came out, apologized, and you can see he was emotionally distressed over it.
Yeah.
I think that's I think they just better sit back and look at the whole picture here.
The apology was accepted. The Hispanic community in Denver was happy with it. I'd say, like you say, Dan Issel isn't a guy who just shoots off at the mouth or flies off the handle. He's made one mistake in 20-some years, and hey, who hasn't?
And it wasn't a physical mistake, it's a mental mistake. A slip of the tongue, you lost 7 in a row, and you reacted. And like Doug said, the guy apologized. What else can you do? I think Denver took the weak side here and didn't support the guy.
I mean,
we still
One
see
more
Latrell
thing, guys,
Sprewell.
we got a prediction.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm sorry if I'm interrupting. I can kind of hardly hear you, but one more thing. How about a prediction for the national championship? Do we have any?
Yeah, we just talked about it. Doug and I picked Nebraska. Doug said plus the points. I don't know how he feels about straight up. I like Nebraska straight up in the game.
Not going to go there. Like the points, but can't pick the game. Too close.
Yeah, I like the Cornhusker plus the points. I think that's a good bet.
All right, appreciate the call, Mike.
Thanks for the call.
All right.
Okay, let's go real fast into some pro football here for the weekend. We'll cover the games with playoff ramifications, so we're going to be skipping a few here. You don't need to put them on the screen, Rick. We'll go right through them. The first game Saturday, Miami and New England. New England -3 with a total of 37. Miami coming off a a shutout loss at San Francisco. New England, one of the hottest teams in the league right now. They've won 4 in a row. Season completely turned around with Brady at quarterback. And
They're the team I haven't seen yet this year that's in playoff contention. I want to see this game tomorrow.
I tell you what, to me, right now, New England, you're still getting at a great price. I think this line should be 4.5 points at least. They're playing in cold weather. Miami just traveled across coast to San Francisco. Now they're going to New England. I mean, I love New England in this game. That's my play of the day for tomorrow. I can't wait to get up and play it, Dan.
That one thing you just reminded me of, excuse me, Dan, but when you talk about Miami traveling across country right before a playoff game, if I remember correctly, the last time they did that, they had played in Seattle, went back to Miami, and lost a game 51-3
Against Jacksonville?
Yes.
It was like 50-something to something at halftime. And that game was completely over. I think that was Jimmy Johnson's last game.
That's exactly right.
Okay, the next game. This is a good matchup. Philadelphia and San Francisco. As a matter of fact, all 3 games tomorrow are good matchups. San Francisco, like I said, coming off a 21-0 win over Miami after getting spanked by St. Louis on Monday night. San Francisco still in line for a playoff spot here. The last 2 games at home for San Francisco have been shutouts. Their defense is playing well. Outside of that one hiccup in St. Louis, they've played great all year. They're 10-3, and it's not by mistake. On the other hand, the Eagles are 9-4, and if you look at that division that Philadelphia is in from top to bottom, Dan, I'm nothing personal. I know your Redskins are in there.
Right.
The Giants stink. The Redskins stink. The Cowboys stink, and the Cardinals stink. And you got a team now that's Philly that's 9-4. Again, I think this is a nice play. San Francisco only -3 in this game at home, and they were home last week. They didn't have to travel. I love San Francisco in this game.
Okay, I got to stop you. There's something about this Eagle team, and not because they beat my beloved Skins last week on the road. I don't know what it is. You can call it luck. You could say they stepped in you-know-what. But they do something on the road, and I don't know. They're doing it with smoke and mirrors.
I agree.
They're doing it with smoke and mirrors, but they're doing it. And anybody that bets against the Eagles on the road the rest of the year, you know, is a gambler. I mean, that's what they go to post for, but I like the Eagles with the points.
7-0 on the road this year, 9-0 on the road going back to last year. And we talked about San Francisco's defense with the 2 shutouts at home for the first time, I guess, in team history. However, look at Philadelphia. No one has given up fewer points than Philadelphia's defense. 175 points all year. And no one has given up fewer second-half points in Philadelphia. 52 total second-half points.
Wow.
Average of about 4 points per game in the second half against Philadelphia. They're a lot tougher on D than people think. I know it's easy to look at the division they're in. I do that myself. I say, well, you know, no competition this year, and they win by default. But Philadelphia is actually a little bit tougher than people think.
I agree.
The line is what on this
3.
game? 3?
Yeah.
Tough.
It's a tough
I
one.
take Philly.
I like Frisco in the game, but I'll tell you what, I do respect Andy Reid. I think he's one of the best coaches in the NFL. The Monday night game that is not going to be on Monday night, which will be Saturday night, Tennessee Titans and the Oakland Raiders. Raiders are 5.5-point favorites over the Titans. Titans aren't going anywhere at 6-7, but the Raiders' run defense is absolutely horrible. Last week for the Titans, Skip Hicks, 17 carries, 142 yards and a touchdown. And I think that point spread at 5.5 with a team like the Raiders that's 10-3, that might be another little trap line there. I think if the Raiders are 7 points, I think they blow them out. 5.5, they're making the public decide in this game.
The quarterback for Tennessee isn't 100%. I don't even know if he's going to be starting or not. I think the Raiders win this and win it big.
Okay, we got enough time maybe for 1 or 2 more games. Let's talk about real fast the Saints and the Buccaneers, both teams 7-6. Saints coming off a loss on Monday night. The Buccaneers getting killed last week by the Bears. Both of them have to win at 7-6 or their playoff hopes are over. Any pick on that, Doug?
I like the Saints. I think the Bucs, as the year drags on, their defense just gets more and more tired. They have to be out there the whole time because their offense just can't get first downs, can't score. The defense is out there all the time. Warren Sapp probably won't play. Got to go with the Saints.
Okay, everybody. Sorry for the quick exit here. We want to thank everybody for watching. Happy holidays and a happy new year to you. Maybe we'll do it again. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Doug.
Okay. Yeah, let's get
All right.
ready for the news.
Well, man, I tell you, it could have been a 2-hour show. I told Vern he should have done it after your news.
I didn't do my homework either. A couple of
Either
those games
did I,
up there, I
man.
went,
Either did
I do not know.
I didn't even talk about the shed.
What was that? There was some games I didn't. Yeah. Nice week, nice week. Don't ask me. Nice meeting you too, Dan. You too, Bill.
Let's go. 5 minutes, we're going on. I gotta need to deal with some road on it.
I guess I better get a name Chris over here.
Can I get that tape? Yeah, I'll give you 2 minutes. I'm gonna have to get into noon. I'll have somebody else get it for you.
You can actually get that camera just to...
What should I take, mine? Oh, no, you took those, that's right. Take the number 2, Mike.
Here, just get me framed up and I'll slide in the side door.